Hey, so this is just like a ramble quick video. I will be making a full video about this soon. I was just watching a video. Hold on, let me find it. I was just watching this YouTube video. Even though I'm a Fnaf fan, and I've been like following Fnaf ever since it came out in 2014. I've never played the games because I don't like horror games, but I was just watching hyperdraulic video, like FNAF lore explained, right? Like, it's the guy who made that 24-hour video about like every single FNAF like detail. Sorry. But yeah, and I was watching his video and I was thinking about something. I've been planning on making this video for a long time, where I talk about Five Nights at Freddy lore and how bad it is. And I just think that I want to rant about it. I'm gonna make a full video about this soon, like with stuff and information, but like this is just a quick little one where basically Five Nights at Freddy lore is bad, like really bad, and like bad in a unique way. And here's the thing: so lore and story. The lore helps the story, right? But I think a lot of people need to understand what like lore is. So lore is like in the Vampire Diaries, you find out like mythical like history about vampires and stuff like that. And for FNAF, lore is like remnant and stuff like that, things that like push the story. And a story is a timeline of events that we know that definitively happened. Now, lore is weird because I think a lot of people, especially like indie horror games, have messed up with like lore really is and like what it is at the just core of like a story. Like when you're trying to figure out its timeline or like whatever, like the lore, like no, it's not you're not explaining lore, you're explaining the story. The lore is like you know, the background of the five missing kids. We know that, you know, like a story is knowing the kids that they're 5 and knowing their names. That's like, right? And I think one of my biggest aches with Scott is like, people will be like, oh, well, you know, he's just one person. No, this is uniquely bad in a way of this story wasn't planned from the beginning. And he's made it way too difficult for our community to solve something as basic as a story. What do you mean people don't have a timeline for your almost 10-year game franchise? That's not how it works. Like, it's something I've had and I've hated about the way he conducts the story and the way he did it. People need to know a timeline. Your community should know names and timelines and events. I'm sick of this argument going around in FNAF. I'm like, no, it's bad. Stop acting like the lore is unique and interesting, and no, it's bad. First, he scrambled it around and changed it a lot because a lot of people, Pat, was solving it. A lot of people in the FNAF community don't like Matt because he solved it and he made Scott change the story, which it's not Matt's fault, it is Scott's fault for not liking the fact that his story was solved, and it's one of my biggest icks with him, and I think that's why he stepped down from FNAF, because he realized that he was just doing something he shouldn't have been doing, which is catch up, which doesn't make sense. And it's like, I'm gonna hold your hand. We don't know the story. We've never got a Freddy Family Downward game. We've never gotten a timeline, an actual real timeline of anything that happened. We have so many characters that are just left in the open. We don't know nothing about them, that were just thrown to wolves. Like, I think that one of my biggest aches, and like Stillwall is trying to work around what they got, but it's like, I need FNAF to move forward away from William, Henry, and all of them. Like, because if Scott's not in like this team, because like I know he isn't really in control of them. He's in control, but he's not actively doing stuff like he was. If they're not going to sit down and be like, okay, here's this, and no, your story isn't over if someone knows the full story. What do you mean we don't know the order that people, the 5 freaking kids that were freaking murdered in? We don't know that. We don't know the order. Shit, we barely know half of their names. Why are we still making an argument about the crying child's name? Like, we should have it confirmed that it's either Evan or Dave. I do believe it's probably Dave, given the more recent evidence we've gotten. Like, Why do we know if Cassie, the vengeful spirit, is a girl? I believe she's a girl. I will never not believe that. I know people want to say that, but Cassidy is a girl's name. I don't like gendering names, but Cassidy is a girl's name. Given this happened in the 80s and 90s, Cassidy is a girl's name. I don't care if that's Scott's son picture. No, like, that's a girl's name. Like, why don't we know half of this crap? Like, I should know that. I should know that. And, like, I feel like we just don't know anything. And then it's like, we barely know anything about the 5 missing kids. Are the toy animatronics possessed? Why don't I know a timeline? That's all I care about. And I think that's one of my biggest eggs and why I think Matt definitely had moments where he was ready to give up on FNAF. Because there is no timeline. There's no real timeline. There's no real timeline. All we have is 70, 19, the 70s, and 72, which is for the more recent stuff, which is like The Secret of the Mimic, that stuff, Fast Fair, Frights at Carnival, like that's the more older, pre-Fed Fair Family Diner stuff we know. And then 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2010s, the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. We know it takes place throughout several decades. We just don't know stuff. Also, why don't I know weird things like ages? Like, ages are something that we don't know in FNAF. How old was Elizabeth, Dave, and Michael when they were murdered? Well, Michael was, like, dead. But, like, how old was Michael when he would have made his brother get up there? Because we all always assumed that Michael was around 15, like 14, 15, 16 when he did it. And, like, most of his friends were teenagers. Like, yeah. Also, how the hell was Cassie Dad still alive when he did that in 83? Like, I know people who are born in 80 are still alive. But, like, he's, like, old. Like what? Like, it's some things that I'm like, how old was he? Well, how old were these children? Was Dave / Evan, like, 5? Was he 6? How old was Elizabeth? Who is Elizabeth the younger daughter, or is the crying child the youngest? Is the crying child's Michael, like, is the crying child's William's son? Like, really? I believe he is. But, like, is he, like, where's Mr. Afton? Like, it's these questions I should have answers to. And we don't. And I think one of my biggest icks is like when people get mad at like Matt, because like I think it's like Matt is better than all of the FNAF community, period. I know, like, I'm thinking of one specific girl on TikTok who I really dislike to like talk about FNAF, because I'm like, y'all guys, first of all, the whole community would be in shambles without him. First of all. Second of all, FNAF wouldn't be as popular as it was for him. I'm sick and tired of us acting like it wouldn't be. Why do you think Scott said Matt needs to be in this movie? Why do you think Markiplier needs to be in the movie? If it wasn't for them, there would be no FNAF. And then it's like, the lore is uniquely one of those things where I was like, he could have made one video. And honestly, Matt, like, connected it to a real life thing, which I honestly think at a point in time, Scott really wasn't trying to make a whole story. And then he realized that he had to make a story. And then he retconned so many things that he was like, I can't. And it's just like, and I'm not hating on Scott because, like, he's one person who worked with one thing and he wasn't even planning on, this was his last game. I think a lot of people forget that he was not going to make games after this if this flopped. And I think he didn't know, like, what to do, you know? And I mean, there's a lot of reasons why he left. I know there's the whole like Republican one, you know. And I mean, again, I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, Scott, your lore is bad. Like, it's uniquely bad. Where I'm like, people are getting lore and story mixed up. Your fans don't even have barely a plot. Like, I'm sorry, but FNAF is like 10, 11 years old now. No, damn. Oh my god, the second game is what? Like, the second game is about to be 10. Like, people forget this location, how quickly he put out these damn games. Like, this location came out 2016, 2017. Like, he's putting these games out quick. Like, they were just having this fast turnaround. Like, they were just coming out. That's why I'm like, people are like, damn, like, Security Breach came out so quick. Like, it was, like, Fnaf, damn. But, like, I should have at first, I should have a timeline. If anything, I should have a timeline. I should have years, and I should have dates, okay? That's what I need. Because the story is old. And it's one of those things where I'm like, what? Like, it's not fun anymore for their community because people have gotten death threats. YouTubers have left. People have quit. Like, it's not funny. I know how crazy it is. Like, the FNAF fandom is just weird. Like, Matt has opened up. He definitely has said that shit when he went in his retirement video. He said, he was talking about the FNAF community when he said, go out and touch grass. Because the unique hate, like I said, that girl, the unique hate that he gets because of the bad lore that Scott did. It's crazy to me. I'm like, you're blaming him? And again, this is not on Scott because, again, this was not planned. Like, there's a difference between J.K. Rowling planning out Harry Potter on a napkin and him making a game, being like, if this flops, I'm done making games. But it's bad. And it's like the retconning and the constant changing and the never giving answers is bad. And he's realizing it now because he's putting answers in newer stories. But I'm like, I want new stories. I don't care. I will always love the original FNAF, the Afton family, the Elizabeth. I will always love them. Like, I will always love that story. I'll always be close to my heart. I will always have that place for them because that is the FNAF that I know. But I'm interested in Gregory. I'm interested in Vanessa and Cassie. Like, I'm interested in these new characters. I want to see them. I'm interested in the glam rocks, and I just wish that FNAF didn't like rush to like scramble that. Like, they went to ruin so quickly in a way that I was like, I wish we stuck around. Like, I wanted to, like, I like that it's fun. Like, I like the new FNAF. I like it. The movie, I love the movie. The movie was really good. Like, I'm excited for the new FNAF. I just think we need to fix the old lore and move on. Because your fans are still trying to solve decade-old lore that I don't care about anymore. I don't care. Guess what? I'm still going to call him the Crying Child because that's what we had to call him for years because Scott never gave us his name until the goddamn security logbook. Which, first of all, to find out characters' names from a security logbook? Scott, get out. That's not lore. That's unnecessary. And that's why a lot of people don't like it and are like, yeah, I don't do that. I'm like, I'm someone who doesn't solve lore. That's why a lot of fans are like, no, I'm not a lore solver. I'm not a da-da-da. I just watch for the shits and giggles. Because I'm not about to stress myself out for that. I stress myself out watching lore videos. I'm like, where did you hear that from? Like, the FNAF story is so stupid. It's like, where does this location take place? When does such a location take place in the timeline? How come freaking William Afton was making those advanced animatronics? When did Elizabeth die? Who death was first? Why did William kill Charlie? Like, the questions that should be answered are not answered. And you may be like, well, why should they be answered? Because that's how the story works. We're getting lore and story mixed up. Lore is Remnant and freaking Agony, and it's so many different things. It's not the story. Like, lore is details that build on the story. That's why we're mixing the things up. Lore is not security logbooking a character's name. It is building on something. Lore is Susie had a puppy, and William used her puppy to kill her. That's lore. That's lore. That's details about a character that we know that helped us with the character. Like, Evan or Dave being scared of the animatronics and having a fear of them is kind of lore in a way because it pushes the narrative of him dying because he is so scared of them that he avoids them at all cost. That's lore. Lore is Michael being forced to babysit his brother and hating it to the point where he would do that prank. That's lore. Like, there is lore that builds on the story. And I think that's what we need to understand. And that is something FNAF's story and lore doesn't have. It does not build. It is just confusing. And it's not a good thing. I hope we understand that. I think the community needs to understand it's not good. It's bad. It's toxic. It is unhealthy for a game franchise / book movie franchise to be this bad and complicated. all the retconning, all the stuff is annoying. It's ticking me off. I have to go back and watch Matt Pat's original like few videos because he's gotten some stuff right. This guy's talking about Matt Kicks right, and I'm like, a lot of theorizing again. Like I said, TikTok girl, I've seen her are mad because Scott Matt is one of the only theorists on Fnaf that has gotten his stamp of approval when it comes down to getting lore right. And honestly, it's like him and John from Fnaf, like them two are the ones where I can tell Scott is like, you know, and like it's one of those things where I'm like, it's nothing like your lore isn't bad if it's able to be solved. Your story isn't bad if it's able to be put together. Like a puzzle is supposed to be solved at the end of the day, and no matter if it's a 10 thing puzzle or a million piece puzzle, it's going to get solved eventually, right? Like, and I think that's one thing a lot of people who make stories should know, that your story is a puzzle and it's going to be solved. It shouldn't be complicated. It shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't take forever. It should take maybe one person or maybe 20 people to put that 10-piece puzzle or 2,000 piece puzzle together. And I think that if we can learn that and understand that FNAF lore is bad, we can all go back to enjoying it in the way that it was supposed to be enjoyed. And FNAF's story isn't a story because it doesn't have a timeline or clear events, and it doesn't have a structure in the way that most stories do for games or whatever. Then I think the community can go back to not being as crazy and toxic as it was. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't care about FNAF story anymore. A lot of people don't even can't because it's just so bad. And I think I'm someone who can still watch lore videos and have my own opinions about it, but it's very complicated and it's very deep and it's very weird and it's very not, you know? And I don't know, I'm just rambling. But, you know, that's just a game, a theory, a game theory. And, yeah.